You're listening to the J.D. Rucker Show. Let's begin. I've never been a fan of slow intros, right? I know that that's the trend, by the way. I'm not oblivious to it. It's been explained to me many times that audiences, in today's day and age, audiences grow over time on these live shows. You might have like the intro that can be out there for hours sometimes. And then you have like a 5-minute countdown, and then they do like 30 seconds or 2 minutes or 3 minutes of intro music and talking or whatever intros, and then by the time you get into the show, there's another 20 minutes of great weekend, funny stuff. What'd you do this weekend, Sally? Okay, let's finally open up the news. It's like I can't do that. I'm old school. Okay, I'm used to news comes on and then you start talking about it and that's it. And then you go through and they squeeze for an hour, different news. Right? Okay. So that's the process. I don't like that. I like diving right in for a few reasons. The biggest one is that, look, we're relegated to 56 minutes. 56 minutes is that's the magic number for radio. It's the magic number for frank speech. Okay. The various places I'm on right now at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm on at frankspeech.com. I'm on at rvnnews.com, at least the Rumble channel for RVM News. Very blessed to have those. I believe that's when I'm on Spreely.tv as well. So, it's made sense to just time everything out and set that part of my day aside, right? The challenge for me is that 56 minutes is tough. Okay, even if I dive straight in, it's like by the time I'm ready, just getting warmed up, and I look at my thing, and I've got like 15 more stories to go. I'm on story number 3, and the 56 minutes is almost up. So, with that said, we're going to be doing more than 56 minutes. I'm going to be putting this for sure over at my Rumble channel, so jdrucker.com/Rumble. You'll be able to catch the rest of it, the rest of the story, so to speak. And we are almost certainly putting it over at Spreely.tv because that's on Roku and all those places. Plus, of course, Spreely.tv itself. And there we're going to do the whole thing. First 56 minutes, and then however long after that, probably another 56 minutes, just to keep it nice round numbers, something like that. Maybe not that structured. RVMnews.com, we'll see. First hour is going to be the important stuff. Like if you might be, if I'm watching on Frank Speech or RV, does that mean I don't get the whole story? No. We're going to be putting the stories, like we're going to be talking about the Supreme Court today. We're going to be talking about races. We're going to be talking about the super important topics that absolutely positively must be seen by everybody. And that's going to fit into the first 56 minutes. What goes beyond that will be more of the, I don't know, call it the fringe stuff, right? The, UFOs. No, I'm just kidding. I don't talk about UFOs, generally speaking. I don't believe in UFOs. That is But like vaccine dangers or voter fraud, the whole J6 story, just the things that you don't find talked about on like YouTube. Okay. Like first hour, we're going to be YouTube friendly. And that's not I don't want to make it sound like we're pandering to YouTube. It's just that's from an audience perspective, from a reach perspective, there's enough topics to talk about where, we don't get in trouble with cancel culture or the censors, right? Second hour, because that'll be at again, jdrucker.com/Rumble for sure, Spreely.tv for sure, probably over at RVM News. I'll check with the guys, see if they're good with that. And that's what we'll do. And we're going to do a set schedule. That's the important part. People have been asking me for a set schedule. We already have the set schedule for Frank Speech. We've got the set schedule for RVM. We've got the set schedule for Spreely. Now, how into a broader show, the old school show that we used to do. We used to do it in the mornings, but obviously now I'm an evening guy. So with that said, we got a ton of stories to go over today. I do encourage you, if you are wherever you're watching, that to take a moment and check out our sponsors at Genesis Gold Group. You can check them out at goldwithgenesis.com or at lindellgold.com. Either one works for me. Doesn't matter. And yeah, have fun learning about precious metals. So let's get into the show itself. It is debate week, and I am not looking forward to any of it. I'm not looking forward to the previews. I'm not looking forward to the constant discussions. I'm not looking forward to the speculation. I'm not looking forward to the postmortems, that's for sure, and I'm definitely not looking forward to the debate itself. Now, I know a lot of Trump supporters are licking their chops, super excited about the idea of watching Trump dismantle Joe Biden, but I'm not. I'm not because of what that represents. Number one, it's not going to be fun to watch. Okay, it might be if Trump goes in there and cracks enough jokes, then okay, fine. At least we'll have some clips to watch. But the results, assuming that he annihilates them, which I do believe he will, then the result will be that Joe Biden will likely not be the Democrat candidate. And let's face it, we want Joe Biden to be the Democrat candidate. Anybody else in the world would be a better candidate than Joe Biden. He's got his track record for the last 4 years has been abysmal. Okay, people are suffering as a result of his handlers and his whoever's actually running the country into the ground, which is exactly what's happening right now. I mean, the guy's mental acuity, he's the worst incumbent Democrat candidate in history. In history. I mean, he's worse than Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was bad, okay, but Jimmy Carter at least had his senses about him. I would argue that Jimmy Carter today has more mental acuity than Joe Biden does. I mean, and that's how bad old Joe is. He's focused right now on just making sure that he can stand up for 90 minutes. That's the big push in Biden camp right now. But we did get a little bit of a preview, not of Trump, not of Biden, and not even of Jake Tapper or Dana Bash, the CNN whatever. They're not moderators. I guess they'd be the Democrat spokespeople on behalf of CNN for the debate, whatever you want to call them. But we did get, I don't even know the lady's name, some anchor over at CNN had Karoline Leavitt on and had her talking about, she was trying to tell the truth about Jake Tapper. And no way, this lady was super not having it. Not on her show, not on my watch. We don't talk about truth here. We're CNN. But Karoline Leavitt was trying to say, hey, look, Jake Tapper's a moderator. Well, guess what? If you were to just Google him, then you'll find out that Jake Tapper has called Donald Trump, compared him to Adolf Hitler on multiple occasions. And he's supposed to be the unbiased moderator. It's a joke. But CNN audience, if that's where they get their news, they're not going to know that because this lady just kept cutting her off. Watch.
Well, first of all, it takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently, frequently likened President Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf, I am willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back.
So that's just a taste of what we're likely to get in a lot more time spent similar to that by old Jake and Dana, however you pronounce her name. I don't know if I've ever watched anything other than short clips of CNN in my entire life. I can say almost certainly the only time I might have was maybe during the first Gulf War. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's not worth thinking about, but neither is this debate, but it's going to happen and we'll see. My advice to Trump is not take it easy on Biden necessarily, but to focus on Democrat policies, to come out there and just come out swinging, but swinging at Democrats, not just at Joe. Because Joe, I mean, if Joe's able to survive this debate, which we want him to survive this debate and to continue on as the candidate. If he can survive this debate, then Trump will have plenty of time to attack him later. There's no need to hit him now. He's already sinking. He's already sunk. He's already shot. He's already lost. Okay, he's dead in the water. So focus on the Democrats, just in case Biden gets replaced. Plus it helps down ticket. Plus it focuses, brings unity to the party, all of that good stuff. I just can't wait for this week to be over. That's all I got to say. Something I will be doing this week is beef. I'm going to be eating beef. And where do I get my beef? You'll see. I like being a person who focuses on solutions. I don't always have the answers, but I try to at least know 1 or 2 or 5 different ways that we can address an issue. If we're fighting oppression, we know that we must protest. We know that we must be ready to, if necessary, to revolt. If we're fighting against a government that is just doing the wrong things, well, let's figure out who the right people are and get them into office. Those are the types of solutions that just about anybody can offer. If anybody who's out there doing a conservative or alternative news show, they can at least tell you, go vote and go protest, right? But one thing that we have that's unique about us is that we do actually get involved directly with one particular problem, and that's long-term survival, preparedness. Just in case, hey, let's say we can't stop the destruction of the United States. Let's say we can't prevent the next cyber attack. Let's say we can't prevent an invasion, God forbid, or anything like that. Then at least we should be able to bug in appropriately, and that's why I'm very proud to be one of the owners of a company that services Americans specifically with long-term storage beef. We're talking about the good stuff. It's not beef crumbles or beef chunks. We're talking about ribeye, New York strip, tenderloin, sirloin. We're talking about freeze-dried. It's cooked sous vide, so then freeze-dried for a 25-year shelf life. So you're good until 2049 if you buy enough of this stuff. All American beef. We don't import anything. It's born, raised, slaughtered, and then packaged and shipped out from Texas. Doesn't ever leave Texas until it's in a bag heading towards your house. So that's my contribution, so to speak. I know it's not much. I know that there's other people that are fighting really hard, getting into heavy activism, fighting the lawfare side for conservatives and all that good stuff. This is what we've got. I mean, it's different, but hopefully we fulfill a need that you have. Be sure to use promo code JDR. That'll get you the maximum discount at any given time. And as of right now, as you're watching this, that maximum discount is 25% off. So, yeah, stock up. Stock up now. Stock up as much as you possibly can. Get high-quality beef by going to preparewithbeef.com. That's preparewithbeef.com. There was a time not too long ago when I had essentially zero faith in the Supreme Court of the United States. It's been a couple of years now, but I did not think that they were nearly as conservative as everybody seems to think. Of course, you've got the left saying that, oh, everybody's just like Clarence Thomas, and in reality, of course, you've got Clarence Thomas, who is just like Clarence Thomas. You have Samuel Alito, who is usually like Clarence Thomas. You've got Trump's 3 appointees who are sometimes like Clarence Thomas, sometimes not. You got John Roberts, who's almost never like Clarence Thomas, and he's the Chief Justice is, in my humble opinion, the worst Chief Justice of all time. And of all the bad things that George W. Bush did, appointing him as Chief Justice was arguably the worst. We wouldn't have Obamacare if it wasn't for John Roberts. And then, of course, you have the 3 radical leftists filling out the court. Well, this week is the week that they're going to demonstrate and I guess either pull me off the fence or push me over the edge. It's one or the other. We will see, in my humble opinion, whether or not they are as conservative as most of you probably think. The Roe v. Wade, that was the point where I was like, well, okay, maybe it's better than I thought. When they overturned Roe v. Wade, it's like, okay, so there's a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance. Well, we'll see this week if they are originalists, because that's what it's not about left versus right, conservative versus leftist. It's are they originalists? Do they properly try to interpret and do their job of interpreting the original intent of the founders, the original intent of the Constitution, and applying that appropriately? Or are they woke? I mean, there's no other way to put it. Those are the only 2 options. If you're woke, then you're going to try to basically rewrite everything. And if you're not, then you're going to try to keep everything the way that it was done from the start, with a few exceptions, of course. I'm not saying that it was perfect. It's never been perfect. It never will be perfect. But it is perfect enough. The Constitution does not need to be jacked around with a whole lot, especially not nearly as much as most judges and politicians and Supreme Court justices would do if they had that power. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court as a group does seem to have that power. This is why it's so important to make sure we have the right ones in there. But that's for another discussion another day. There's an article over at Daily Caller that highlights some of the biggest cases. This week, we are going to get a bunch of cases dropped. Okay, starting Wednesday, cases are going to start dropping. It's going to be big news. There's a lot of big cases out there. Let's quickly review some of them. There's one under the Supreme Court's 1984 Chevron ruling. Courts are instructed to defer to reasonable agency interpretations of laws when the language of the statute is ambiguous. In other words, a bureaucratic state has the final say. Maybe not the final say, but they have the first say. They get to say, okay, so we can do this, we can do that. Well, a couple of fishermen have sued. They sued they sued a couple of different agencies, but as a result of the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, those dastardly NOAA people, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they basically trying to charge these fishermen and all these fishermen $700 per day to cover the salaries of federally mandated onboard observers. Now that's ludicrous. So let's just call it what it is. Okay, I'm not saying these aren't necessary people. I'm not going to go into what they're observing or anything like that. $700 a day, in the fishing industry, that's a whole lot of money. Okay, that's a whole lot of money, and it's designed to, of course, give control over the government and make it to where they can impose their will. This is the bureaucratic state in its worst. The Chevron ruling makes this possible, and we could see the Chevron ruling from 1984 upended. That would be awesome. That would basically take away. It's not huge, but when it's used and when it's abused, first of all, when it's used, it's almost always abused. But when it is abused, it's just horrible. Again, this gives us the nanny state with much more power than they possibly could ever deserve. Second one, Biden administration's censorship efforts. We've all seen, we've all talked about the various uses of censorship by proxy, basically the subversion of our First Amendment right by government. Government cannot stop you from saying things that are lawful. Okay, but they have been using social media to suppress it, to censor you. Hey, it's not them. They're not arresting you for saying it, but they've been saying, hey, Facebook, hey, Twitter, hey, YouTube, hey, Google, hey, whoever, these guys are saying bad things we don't like about COVID, about the election, about whatever, so we need you to cut them off. And of course, all the big tech baddies complied. If it wasn't for the Twitter files, thanks to Elon Musk, we probably wouldn't even know just how bad it was. I think all of us knew that it was happening. We just didn't realize it was happening at this scale, and the scale is absolutely ginormous. I mean, we're talking about an operation or multiple operations that would have required tens of thousands of people being involved on both sides, both the government side as well as the big tech side. I'm not talking about all employees. I'm talking about the ones that were directly involved in censoring American citizens at the behest of the federal government, and that's illegal. And this one should be a no-brainer, okay? This one should be a no-brainer. It's already one victory. A federal judge basically ruled in favor of the plaintiffs. The Fifth Circuit affirmed it, sort of. A watered-down version now goes to the Supreme Court, and we'll get to see if they say, I would be, it won't happen. They're not going to say, no, it's, this is overturned. They're going to say either yes, full force, or yes, a toned-down version. Either way, it's either a big victory or it's a minor victory. Either way. So that one I'm excited about. Big one, I would say this is either the biggest or second biggest. Obstruction charges against the J6 defendants. There's a whole lot of people that are in jail right now that may not be in jail soon. Lord willing, this is one where they'll get it right. According to the article, in Fisher versus United States, January 6 defendant Joseph Fisher challenged the Department of Justice's interpretation of the obstruction statute he was convicted under. The statute, section 1512 C2, levies up to 20 years in prison against anyone who corruptly obstructs, influences, or impedes any official proceeding. Now that might say, well, isn't January 6th? They were kind of going after, but here's the thing, that what they were applying, the law that they were nailing these guys on, the January 6ers, was never intended for what we're seeing. It was not intended for events such as J6. Back to the article. By applying the charge to defendants who obstructed Congress's certification of the 2020 election, the DOJ impermissibly broadened a law intended to fight corporate fraud, according to Fisher. The ruling could also impact Special Counsel Jack Smith's prosecution, I was about to say persecution, which it is, of President Trump for allegedly seeking to overturn the 2020 election, since two of the charges in the indictment are connected to the statute. Now, look, I'm not worried about Trump. Okay, I'm not. People say, "Oh, I hope this works out for Trump." Look, Trump's a big boy. He's got great lawyers. He can take care of himself. He's gonna either make it through this or he's not. And the Supreme Court ruling's not going to. This will either make it easier for him or not. Okay, but the J6ers, those are the ones that I'm truly concerned about. The ones that are rotting in jail. If there's any, if one of them can get released as a result of the Supreme Court ruling properly on this, praise God for that. So, hopefully it's a lot more than one, but if we can just get one, that would be great. Idaho abortion ban. So this one is about a very specific type of abortion that the federal government, Biden, as soon as Roe v. Wade was overturned, Biden sued Idaho for the Defense of Life Act, okay, saying that it was basically too restrictive because of Federal Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act's definition of stabilizing care. A very rare occurrence where an abortion is necessary for quote-unquote stabilizing care. So I don't know, but here's the thing. Anything that any federal government interference, anything that basically says the federal government can tell the states what they're allowed to do when it comes to abortion, obviously I'm against. So unless it's to say, hey, it's all banned. But we'll discuss that some other day if that ever becomes a realistic possibility. Oregon City public camping ban. I guess, this is not huge, but it basically says, is it considered cruel and unusual punishment under the 8th Amendment to prevent homeless people from sleeping in public places? So, I shouldn't downplay it and say, oh, that's not a big deal. It's definitely a big deal if you're homeless. And it's definitely a big deal if you're in a particular city where there's a lot of homeless people. But like I always say, get out of the cities. Yeah, just get out of the cities if you can. Move out to the suburbs, move out to the country if you can. We'll skip. No, we're not going to skip that one. That's the last one. Gosh, I went through 6 pretty quickly. This is the big one. Trump's presidential immunity appeal. Trump is seeking to dismiss his federal election interference case based on the argument that he has presidential immunity for official acts taken while in office. Lower courts rejected his argument, but the Supreme Court will soon rule on his appeal. Trump's appeal has delayed the case for months, causing the district court judge to cancel the initially scheduled March 4th trial date and make it all but certain that a trial will not take place before the 2024 election. Now, this is the one that just to be clear, this is the one that of all of the various cases that Trump's involved with, this is the one that I would say, if he were convicted, it has the highest chance of having massive repercussions. We're going to see what happens on July 11th, or hopefully, Lord willing, before then, hopefully the Supreme Court will step in and do the right thing as far as the whole hush money debacle. But we'll see. In the meantime, this is one where basically it's a good test, not just for today, but for the future. Can the president, does the president's immunity apply to events such as, for example, January 6th? Okay, he was president on January 6th, 2021. So, does this apply? We will see. Good stuff. You can find this story as well as a whole bunch of other stories. We publish them over at Discern Report, but perhaps more importantly, we are also offering the Discern Report newsletter. It is free, of course, and unlike the vast majority of newsletters out there, this newsletter is not going to be from one source. It's not just going to be my stories and stuff from Discern Report. It's going to be stories from everywhere. Breitbart, RVM News, the Epoch Times, Gateway Pundit, places that you know and love. Yeah, I am a big, sorry, don't want to look at that ugly page for too long. I am, of course, editor over at thelibertydaily.com, as well as still at discernreport.com, which is part of the RVM News Network. And as a result, I have to read through a whole bunch of stories every single day, right? Well, as I'm reading through them, as I'm reading literally over, or sometimes 1,500 to 2,500 headlines and dozens, if not over 100 actual articles, as I go through there, I have a unique insight into what's happening in the news. Big stories, little stories, stories that are not big today, but are going to be big tomorrow. We were talking about, for example, the whole East Palestine train wreck debacle. We were talking about everything from it within minutes after the train itself had derailed. And we continued to talk about it. It was a week later, almost a week later, after they did the burn off and the smoke flying everywhere, and then all of a sudden you have all the news outlets are like, oh my gosh, what's happening over in East Palestine? We were covering it literally from minutes after the train wrecked itself. And so having that ability or having those insights gives me the ability to get news out quickly. But it also gives me the ability, perhaps more importantly, it gives me the ability to see news that maybe isn't big today, but that people should be talking about. And I can give you examples of that. But if you go to discernreport.com/newsletter, that's discernreport.com/newsletter, you can sign up. And if you look on the screen, I mean, it's the ugliest, simplest sign up form you'll ever see, right? It's just literally email. And there's I don't even see the box on my screen, but I'm sure there's a box there. Email, put in your email address, and then subscribe. We don't need your information. We don't need your birthday or name even. Just sign up. It's free. Cancel anytime. Unsubscribe buttons at the bottom, and you'll get 10, 15, sometimes even 20 stories. The stories that you need to read delivered to your inbox every morning. So check it out. All right, so now let's talk about racism. Racism is a topic that has been, it's been on pretty much every one of my shows for quite some time. It's not that it's so super important to me. It's just that we keep seeing examples over and over and over again. Not of racism, usually. It's usually of racism being tossed around as the reason for this or the reason for that. It seems as if, like, no matter what, everything is racist if it goes against the left, right? So that's annoying, obviously. And we're seeing it once again rearing its ugly, ugly head over the weekend. There's an article over at thegatewaypundit.com by Jordan Conradson. What? Crazy leftist on MSNBC claims Trump tying Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's political persecution to Biden is, quote, dangerously and perniciously racist. It's not just racist. It's dangerously racist. It's perniciously racist. I think she just likes to use the word perniciously. According to the article, MSNBC legal analyst Lisa Rubin recently responded to the dismissal of President Trump's gag order appeal in the hush money witch hunt case brought by Alvin Bragg, claiming that Trump tying Biden's Department of Justice and Matthew Colangelo to Bragg is dangerously and perniciously racist. There's a quote from her. He is continuing to push a narrative that, as I've written and others have, is extraordinarily dangerous. Dangerous. Oh my gosh. So dangerous if you speak out against somebody who's lying to you, persecuting you for absolutely no reason. People, even leftists like Andrew Cuomo and Bill Maher, were speaking out about how idiotic it was for Bragg and for the Democrats and for the Biden regime, because they were involved, how idiotic it was for them to even bring this to trial in the first place, let alone secure conviction in, of course, New York. But back to the article. However, the idea that the Biden DOJ is leading the persecution of Donald Trump assumes nothing about Bragg's skin color. Matthew Colangelo, the former DOJ acting associate attorney general, took a demotion to work in the Manhattan DA's office and take down Donald Trump by resurrecting and ensuring Soros-backed Bragg moved forward with a garbage case against President Trump. One would have to be crazy to actually believe there is no influence coming from the Biden regime. So here you've got Alvin Bragg. And for those who don't know, Alvin Bragg is black. Now, if Alvin Bragg were white, everything Trump has said, everything his attorneys have said, everything that the vast majority of us in conservative media would have said would have been the exact same thing. I don't care if he's black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, whatever. Okay? It's the action. It's not the person. Well, it is the person, but it's the person, what they're doing. And why they're doing it has nothing to do with Alvin Bragg's skin color. And you know what? They know this. They're not dumb. Okay. I take that back. They are dumb. But they're not stupid. Lisa Rubin knows that there's absolutely positively nothing racist about this. They have they being the radical left, have become so accustomed to seeing, oh, black person racist. You gotta, anything against that person is racist. It's definitely racist. Hispanic person, oh, any criticism, anything, oh, that's racist. You can't say, it's racist to call them an illegal alien, they'll say. Because you can't call them an illegal alien because that's racist, even though they're here illegally. They crossed the border illegally, and they're like literally an alien by the definition of the word. I'm not talking about a space alien, okay? Even if you say, they don't want you to say illegal immigrants, even though technically speaking, they're not really immigrants. That's why the proper term really is illegal alien. That's the term that's always been used. That's the term, and there's nothing racist about it. If a Norwegian guy comes across and crosses the Canadian border, he is an illegal alien. Has nothing to do with racism. It's just facts. Okay. It is Trump's belief, and millions of other people's belief, that Alvin Bragg, whether he's white, black, or anything, that he is persecuting, not prosecuting. He was persecuting Donald Trump, that the Biden-Harris regime got involved to go after their primary political opponent and to use this proxy who happens to be black. So it's idiotic, and this is what we have to deal with on a daily basis. I don't get it. I mean, I really don't. That's not me just being, oh, I don't get it. No, I really don't get it, because this is one of those situations where, at some point, they have to realize that it's not having as much of an effect as it used to, and perhaps it's having the opposite effect, and I would say that it is. In this scenario, what we're dealing with is America has become clued in to how corporate media positions bigotry and racism, to the way the Democrats position bigotry and racism. There are still those, the most indoctrinated on the left, that still, like, they're true believers. Oh, yeah, no, Trump is totally racist. What did he do that was racist? Well, he just is. It's what he said about the Mexicans, what he said about the women and the black people and the gays. It's like, wait, what? What did he say? Well, I don't know. I'm going to repeat it. No, go. But they can't. They won't. They don't. And we know why. Because there was nothing. Nothing of note. And yet they still continue to push it. They push lies. That's what they do. And then eventually, Lord willing, they are able to end. This is the lie. And this is actually the biggest lie overall, in my humble opinion, as far as been a lot of lies against Trump, but this one in particular was egregious because this is the one that even Joe Biden himself came out and said, this is why I'm running for president. He cited the very fine people, the very fine people line. Now this line has been debunked at least, last I counted, at least 57,000 times. It's been debunked. In context, it's clear. It wasn't saying white supremacists being very fine people. And yet they keep repeating it. Well, apparently, over the weekend, somebody sort of stopped. They corrected it 7 years too late, but hey, at least it got done. According to Not the Bee, Cardinal Pritchard authoring, Snopes finally debunked the 2017, quote, very fine people hoax. And hoo boy, are the leftists mad. And they are. They're very upset because this has been a persistent, ugly, and effective, unfortunately, effective lie they've been telling to basically keep as many of their indoctrinated cult members in the dark. It's like they keep leaning in on this one because it works, because people, they either hear it out of context or don't hear it at all and just hear about it. They get told by Jake Tapper or somebody else that, oh, that's so racist. It's so racist. He's a white supremacist. Okay, that was terrible. That wasn't even close. I don't even know what Jake Tapper sounds like. I guess I'll find out this week. According to the article, remember when the corporate media tried to convince us for years that Donald Trump called neo-Nazis and white supremacists, quote, fine people? The Charlottesville incident, here was the claim made by the liberal media. On August 15th, 2017, then-President Donald Trump called neo-Nazis and white supremacists who attended the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, quote, very fine people. You heard this on the news over and over again. The clip was out of context, but the media ran with it, as they're known to do, especially with Trump. It ended up being the reason that Joe Biden ran for president. Imagine that. That's one I hope that one comes back to bite him. I hope that somebody has the guts. It won't be Jake Tapper or Dana Bash, but I hope that somebody has the guts. Some reporter, some interviewer, some debate moderator, whatever. Somebody has the guts, I hope, to do that. To ask him, do you still stand by the idea that what Trump was referring... Anyway, here's what happened and why that out-of-context very fine people line was so important. On August 11th and 12th, 2017, the so-called Unite the Right rally protesting the planned removal of a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee from a park turned violent when neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and others linked to far-right groups clashed with the leftist counterparts. One self-identified white supremacist rammed his car into a crowd of people, killing one and injuring at least 19. So, this was a deadly occurrence, making it all the more tempting for the liberal media to take Trump out of context and destroy his character. Here's Trump's actual words, which we've covered numerous times, and I'm not going to play it. If you haven't, please, this is one of the times I encourage you, do your own research. Okay, I'm trying to for stuff like this. Okay, for historical events, because it really is historical. I mean, we can by Biden's presidency being predicated by this, has made it a historical audio and video. So people need to watch it. Okay, they need to have an understanding why. They need to be able to explain to their children and grandchildren that no, Trump didn't call white supremacists and neo-Nazis very fine people. Anyway, because it's been 7 years after the fact and they've already destroyed Trump's character, the left-wing fact checkers at Snopes have finally come out and admitted this was a hoax. I have no idea why, but credit where it's due, I guess. Cutting back down. Anyway. So, I'm not going to go Snopes. Snopes is bad whether, even when they're right, they're wrong, just because really just nasty people over at Snopes. Just, not that I've ever been fact-checked by the jerks. I'm just kidding. Anyway. We could talk about racism all day because they want to talk about racism. What they don't want to talk about is any real racism. They don't want to talk about how diversity, equity, and inclusivity, their beloved DEI, how it promotes racism. It clearly, unambiguously, you cannot deny it, that it is literally racist. The tenets are racist. Okay? Forced diversity is inherently racist. Equity is, equity based upon a race or sexual preference or gender or anything, that is bigotry. When you're saying, hey, we're going to have a quota of so many people, or we'll take the Harvard, the Ivy League example. Asians are scoring up here on their entry exams, and you got Caucasians scoring here, and you got Hispanics scoring here, and so we're gonna raise the bar for these people so that we get more of these people. Okay, that's not equality. Equality is equal opportunity. Equity is equal results, regardless of skills, regardless of merit, and that, folks, is racism. Okay, if you look back to the way things were, you look back to our more racist times in the 40s, 50s, 60s, basically, even into the 70s and 80s. There was definitely racism in the 70s. It was subsiding in the 80s. It was getting really good. I wouldn't say non-existent, but very much less in the 90s. And by the early 2000s, we were at the most equality-based system that we've ever had here in the United States. And I would argue probably in the world. But then we reversed it. It reversed to, when I say reversed, it literally went from, by the time you get to the early 2000s, racism against minorities was at its lowest point. But then Obama And to some extent, Bush, but really Obama started pushing it further. Started making it to where, no, it's not enough to have equality. We need equity. And equity means that this person, based upon their skin color, deserves more than this person based upon their skin color. And this person, because they need to be protected, because apparently, if you listen to the quote-unquote activists, the transgender people or queer or whatever, gay, I don't even know what the whole LGBTQIA plus supremacy agenda, I don't know the 57 Heinz varieties. I just know that if you qualify as one of those, then you don't have equal rights, you have superior rights. We've seen this very clearly with transgenders, because they, if a man who identifies as a man goes into a woman's restroom, he gets arrested. If a man who identifies as a woman goes into either a man's restroom or a woman's restroom, nothing happens, or at least nothing's supposed to happen. They get protected. As a matter of fact, if you call that dude out for going into a bathroom, there's a good chance that you're the one that's going to get in trouble, that you're going to get kicked out or possibly even arrested. That's equity, and that is racist or bigoted or whatever you want to call it. So you take from it what you will. Snopes comes around 7 years later, way beyond the point of sanity. Okay, I mean it's done. Okay, it's done. It's already over. That line. Okay, so one fact checker corrects the issue later. It's sort of like the Hunter Biden laptop, right? It's like you got all over a year after the election, got all these news outlets that were trumpeting back in October of 2020. They were saying the Hunter Biden laptop is Russian disinformation. We have 51 intelligence operatives who are saying that, sign a letter that says this is Russian disinformation. It's not true. We totally know it's not true. Okay. That's got to be all just a bunch, just 10,000 hours of deep fakes that they put together to confuse you. That's probably a better Jake Tapper impersonation than my previous one. And it wasn't. I wasn't Jake Tapper at all, but still better than the last one. That was awful. That's what we're faced with today, folks. That's what we have to deal with. Situations like the Hunter Biden laptop, where after the fact, after it's too late, oh no, we were wrong. We're seeing now with Snopes and others. It's not just Snopes. Other people are coming out and saying, oh yeah, that's true. I guess if you listen to it in context, it's clear that he wasn't being racist. He wasn't calling neo-Nazis very fine people. Okay, well, but the seed is already planted. It's been 7 years. It's no longer a seed anymore. Now it's like a whole tree full of hatred towards Donald Trump for no reason. A lot of people started hating Donald Trump because they heard that. Or other things. I need to get Brandon Strzok back on, because he is the perfect example of somebody who stopped listening to corporate media's descriptions of Donald Trump and started actually listening to Donald Trump. When you do that, there's a good chance that you're actually going to walk away, as his movement likes to say. So yeah, I definitely need to get him back on the line. We got one more segment. Before we do, I want you to listen about the Prepper Bar. I've got mine. Hold on. I got mine. In the ad, I have it outside of the case. This is what it looks like in the case. You can see it's still just as shiny. It's just protected. So, good stuff there. Roll that beautiful Prepper Bar footage. All right, let's play a little Jeopardy here. The answer is this bar. This bar is the answer to the question I'm about to ask. The question, though, is how do you carry around wealth in your wallet? How do you make wealth that's portable, that you can break apart because it's perforated, that you can use for emergency situations as a way to have essentially wealth in your wallet? Well, that's why we have the Prepper Bar, and I'm very excited to introduce it to you. It will be both silver and gold. It's available, and it's an awesome little 62-gram bar that literally fits in your wallet. I wish I had my wallet with me. I do. I have it right here. I'm going to demonstrate because I'm not just playing around here. Here's my wallet, if you can see it on the screen. And here's my Prepper Bar. You could take it. I'm not going to break it because this is mine. But you could take it. You could break apart little bits and pieces from it It is absolutely amazing. I am super, super proud and super blessed to have this available as wealth, literally wealth in my wallet. You too can own your own prepper bars. You can get a bunch of them, stick them in the safe. You can put 1 or 2 or 5 in your wallet or in your purse or wherever to keep with you just in case. You know, you take a bar, you might have to shave off parts of it. Well, you wouldn't have to do that here. If you need to trade or barter for food or safe passage or anything like that, Prepper Bar is the answer. And it is available exclusively from the one company. If you are interested, then go. You don't even have to tell them I sent you. Just go visit prepperbarnow.com. That's prepperbarnow.com. If we were to select the biggest challenge with the first term of the Trump administration, it would have to be personnel. The people that Donald Trump surrounded himself with, many, if not most of them, were awful. I mean, people that should not have been anywhere near the Trump administration. Okay? I mean, up and down the list, you have Rex Tillerson, horrible. Reince Priebus, H.R. McMaster, Omarosa, Scaramucci. I mean, they all had really crazy names, right? But they were just awful. Jeff Sessions, Bill Barr. Okay? I mean, stop me if you've heard enough. H.R. McMaster. Give me a break. H.R. McMaster. Okay? Mike Pence. Hello. These are people that just worked against the administration hard. John Bolton? Seriously? John Bolton? That's who we went with? And again, I mean, look, you could say, oh, but he was just overloaded. He had other people picking the wrong people. I don't care. It was his fault. He ended up signing off on all those people. Hopefully, Lord willing, he will pick better people. You know, this is one of the reasons. It's funny whenever I hear somebody say, oh, you know, he just likes him because he's a loyalist. Well, that's what we need. Okay, we don't need necessarily. This is going to sound, maybe some of you will disagree, but here's the thing: we don't need necessarily the most opinionated people. We need high quality people to fill cabinet positions, to lead agencies and departments, to be his closest advisors. Yes, we need smart people for sure. But they have to be aligned. Agenda. Are they going to be working against the agenda? And you either accept the agenda or you don't. But either way, you're supposed to fulfill it. And these people were not. They were working against him. Now again, Lord willing, for a second term, he will do much better. And there's an organization that just crossed my desk today, first time I'd ever seen them, that, well, we'll see. We will see. I'm hopeful that these guys are the real deal. It's an article over at headlineusa.com. Startup organization creating list of seditious civil servants who might resist Trump. Wish we would have had that the first term. Maybe we could have avoided all the whole. I mean, if he had picked somebody other than Jeff Sessions, then many of the problems that didn't just haunt him through his first term, but also even after his first term, a lot of those problems would have gone away or would never have popped up in the first place. You can really trace it back to a combination of Jeff Sessions and Reince Priebus in the beginning, and then at the end, of course, Bill Barr was just a disaster. According to the article, perhaps the biggest setback, as they agree, perhaps the biggest setback to the first Trump administration was not anything inherently flawed in Republican President Donald Trump's leadership, but the sheer bulk of disloyal individuals embedded within the Washington, D.C. bureaucracy who were eager to undermine him at every level with little or no accountability. In a normal workplace, these employees would be fired for insubordination. In the most extreme of circumstances, they would be charged with sedition against the government and punished accordingly with execution not outside the range of possibility. So far, so good. Instead, many of these conspirators, some of them dedicated socialists, were celebrated for their efforts by the Trump-deranged media and Democrat leaders who egged them on. But the day of reckoning may arrive with a second Trump term that offers the benefit of hindsight, having rooted them out while their guard was down. Oh, I so hope for this. I mean, I really, truly hope and pray for this. because if he can, this isn't just people have been throwing around the word revenge. And while I'm not offended by that at all, I see nothing wrong with that. That's not really what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is really more of a retribution. And it's subtle, but there's a difference. But anyway, I hope that he does get retribution. I hope that he is able to, number one, win. Number two, that once he's there, he's able to look back. As he's looking forward, you can chew gum and walk at the same time, okay? Push the nation forward. But then be able to know, knowing what he knows now, be able to go back and find those that basically screwed him over and screwed us over as a result. Back to the article. From his home office in small-town Kentucky, a seasoned political operative is quietly investigating scores of federal employees suspected of being hostile to Trump's policies, an effort that dovetails with a broader conservative preparation for a new White House. Tom Jones, great name, and his American Accountability Foundation, which according to this, the website is AmericanAccountabilityFoundation.com, convenient, are digging into the backgrounds, social media posts, and commentary of key high-ranking government employees, starting with the Department of Homeland Security, where one top official was recently found to harbor Hamas sympathies. Why would we want that person in DHS? That'd be as crazy as putting like John Bolton in. Oh wait, that happened. Oops. Yeah, you don't want that. And I'm not saying that John Bolton has Hamas sympathies. I'm saying that he's the neocon's neocon, and putting him in a position that could drive us into war would in many situations probably would have driven us into war. But that's Bolton. He just wants to invade Cuba. That's all. They're relying in part on tips from his network of conservative contacts, including workers, and are preparing to publish the findings online. With a $100,000 grant from the influential Heritage Foundation, the goal is to post 100 names of government workers to a website this summer to show a potentially new administration who might be standing in the way of a second-term Trump agenda and ripe for scrutiny, reclassification, reassignments, or firings. In other words, drain the swamp. I mean, that's really what they're saying. They want to drain the swamp, period. There's a quote from Tom Jones. We need to understand who these people are and what they do. Duh. Heritage President Kevin Roberts said the weaponization of the federal government has been possible only because of the deep state of entrenched leftist bureaucrats. He said he was proud to support the work of American Accountability Foundation workers in their fight to hold our government accountable and drain it of bad actors. Dum, dum, dum. Sorry, I don't mean to be so dramatic, but I mean, because this is serious stuff. I mean, this is good. I'm very happy with this concept. The hopefully they'll be able to follow through. $100,000, more than enough. I mean, we're not talking about like trying to buy like a tiny home in California where you have to pay like $800,000 unless you go to Amazon and you can buy it for like $25,000 or less, whatever. It's California. No, we're not talking about anything crazy like that. We're talking about, hey, $100,000, just get some people, get some interns, get some volunteers, get some paid staff to go through and research these people. What do they say on Twitter? What do they say on Facebook? What do they, listen to their interviews, listen to any conversations you can find of them. What are their sensibilities? Now, a lot of people will say this sounds an awful lot like maybe even McCarthyism. And no, I'm not talking about Kevin McCarthy. I'm talking about, the hunt for communists. And here's the thing, is that this is a lot like that. The difference is, number one, we have the technology today. Number two, there should be no chance of false positives because they're not doing this behind the scenes. They're not doing this in the shadows. They're going to take this, search in public records, public posts and everything like that, and then put it online. Okay? In other words, they're going to do it the right way. At least that's what it sounds like. I'm not vouching. Okay, I have not dug into this. I have not examined their website or anything like that. All I know is this, is that for Trump's term, whether he wins, assuming that he wins, if he wins, Lord willing he wins, if he is able to win, the only way that he can make sure that he doesn't have a repeat or worse from his first term. And I'm not saying that his first term was bad. I'm saying that he was fighting against headwinds the entire time. Day one, before day one, okay? Before he was in office, he was already fighting against headwinds. And the reason being is because he surrounded himself with the wrong people. We're not just talking about top-level people. Lest we forget, Eric Ciaramella was a low-level guy under H.R. McMaster, and yet he got the whole Ukraine whistleblower thing going. That was a debacle. So we do need to know. I'm hopeful that Tom Jones is able to do exactly what he says he's going to do. Let's do what we can to support them. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, you all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless. If you have been paying attention in recent years, and I know you have been, obviously, because you're watching my show, so clearly you're not sticking your head in the sand. You want to hear the truth. But if you have been paying attention, then you realize that over the last, 3.5, 4 years, things have been going pretty darn crazy. And it isn't just the pandemic. We should have been in full-blown recovery mode since then. Things are crazy for other reasons, and I think you know why. I am very blessed, pleased, and honored to be working with a company that helps people to secure their retirement, secure their life's savings. This is a company that doesn't just work with me, works with some much more important people than me, people such as Mike Lindell. If you go to rumblegold.com, you can work with Genesis Gold Group, and you can sign up, get a free definitive gold and silver guide, help you make sure that you're doing the right things as far as your investments go. People like Dean Cain, there's Mike Lindell again on the screen. You got people like Joe Altman, Conservative Daily Podcast, one of my good friends. He's fantastic. All three of them are, and I might not be fantastic myself, but at least I do know a thing or two when it comes to trying to defend our nation, when it comes to trying to spread the gospel. Genesis is an unabashedly faith-driven company. This is why they don't do things such as offering free silver. Look, if you want to listen to the ads that say, buy our gold and silver, and we'll give you $10,000 in free silver in exchange for a $299 processing fee, then my goodness, have fun with that. No, don't actually. Don't have fun with that, because there's nothing fun once you realize what the actual numbers are like. Go to rumblegold.com if you have a retirement, if you have wealth that you want to protect, and you want to protect it with physical precious metals. Rumblegold.com is the place to go. Endorsed by Mike Lindell, and perhaps more importantly, endorsed by me.